I never thought I'd have to say these words out loud, but here it is. My 15-year-old daughter was in the shower when the HOA president used a master key to open the bathroom door. No knock, no warning, just her smug face stepping into my hallway like she owned the place. That moment, everything snapped. The safe home I thought I'd built crumbled in seconds, and I knew the fight that followed would either break me or her. My name's Adam Roth. I'm a single dad, a security systems engineer, and until recently I thought I'd moved us into a quiet suburban community where the biggest drama would be trash pickup or barking dogs. Instead, I ended up in a neighborhood run like a petty dictatorship with a president named Marlene Fenwick who carried her HOA badge like it was a sheriff's star. That afternoon she let herself in while my daughter Lila was in the shower. I heard the door creak, saw steam spilling under the bathroom frame, and my blood froze. When I confronted her, she brushed invisible dust off her badge and said it was Protocol 11C, emergency inspection. Like barging into a teenager's bathroom was written in the bylaws. I stepped closer and told her calmly I helped write the firmware that her precious locks used and that her master key pinged back to my home server. Then I tapped in a kill code and shut her out for good. Her smirk faltered for the first time, but before leaving, she slapped a violation notice on my counter like a ransom note. That night I found Lila barricaded behind her dresser, refusing to talk, too shaken to even dry her hair properly. And I sat outside her door wondering how the hell this became our life. The next morning I checked the system logs. Sure enough, Marlene had used her override 6 times in 4 weeks, half the time not even in buildings she was assigned. This wasn't an accident. It was a pattern. Mrs. Bell, the quiet dog walker down the street, pulled me aside and whispered that Marlene had done the same to Cheryl last year, barged in during a supposed mold check. Cheryl called it trauma and moved out 3 months later. Everyone knew, but no one fought. The board always sided with Marlene. That should have been my warning, but I didn't listen. Instead, I dug deeper. I tapped into the HOA's camera system using their unchanged default credentials and found footage of Marlene strolling through my backyard gate, heading straight for my patio like she owned the place. No knock, no consent, no decency. I saved every second of it. That was the moment I realized this wasn't just my problem. This woman had turned the entire neighborhood into her stage. Then came the official final warning. A bright yellow envelope taped to my door, obstruction of emergency protocol access to amenities suspended. Pool clubhouse, even the Wi-Fi all cut off. Suddenly I was a pariah. And at home, Lila barely came out of her room. I'd sit in the hallway with her damp towel still on the floor, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. I started to think maybe the only way forward was to pay the fines, stay quiet, swallow my pride, and pray she left us alone. That was the lowest point, me, a grown man, wondering if I'd made a mistake moving here, if I'd failed my kid all over again. But then Daniel, the board treasurer, cracked. Nervous guy cardigan, always wrinkled glasses, fogged. He slipped me a folder one morning when the office was empty, proof that the HOA had been legally dissolved almost 3 years ago. No corporate standing, no enforcement authority, nothing. And Marlene knew it. She'd ignored filings, kept the board in the dark, and continued ruling by fear. Suddenly I had leverage. Then my old real estate attorney, Dawn Patel, confirmed it, emailed me notarized documents showing the HOA had no legal ground at all. Every fine, every inspection, every override was criminal trespass. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't powerless. That's when everything shifted. I compiled it, all the footage, the logs, Daniel's files, Dawn's legal proof, into what I called the Willowbrook file. I built a fail-safe so if anything happened to me, the entire file would blast out to the housing authority, local reporters, and every resident in the community. For the first time, I wasn't just reacting. I was planning. Marlene showed up again with her clipboard, smiling that brittle smile. "I'm here to follow up on your violations," she chirped. I cut her off. "Which board?" "The one the state dissolved 3 years ago." Then I handed her the notarized letter. Watching the color drain from her face was the closest thing to justice I'd felt in weeks. "If you ever use that master key again, I told her I will file a criminal trespass report and expose everything. She didn't answer, just turned on her heel and left. Lila saw the whole thing from the stairs. She didn't flinch this time. Her shoulders eased. That tiny shift in her posture was worth everything. But a private confrontation wasn't enough. The community needed to know. So I scheduled a timed post on the resident app. Have you ever been entered without notice, fined without hearing, blocked from amenities with no appeal? This week you'll find out whether Willowbrook HOA has the legal right to do any of it. Details. Friday. At 8 a.m. sharp, my post went live along with an email to 77 residents attaching the entire Willowbrook file. Within minutes, replies poured in, some angry, some stunned, others quietly relieved. Marlene tried to fight back, calling it misinformation, but I'd already filed a motion with the Housing Oversight Board. When the official acknowledgement arrived, stamped and docketed, I posted it beneath her denial. Silence. Then one by one, neighbors started speaking up. Cheryl shared her story. Hector, the old vet, confirmed Marlene had trespassed in his backyard. Even Mrs. Bell, timid as she was, admitted she'd been targeted. The dam had burst. By the time the emergency board meeting was called, momentum had shifted. They tried to keep it small, just the conference room blinds drawn, but too many people knew. I walked in with Daniel at my side, Cheryl and Hector behind me. Marlene sat stiff at the head of the table, folders stacked like props. She opened her mouth to accuse me of stirring panic, but Daniel finally spoke up. You told us the paperwork was in process. You lied. You crossed the line from enforcement to abuse. His voice didn't even shake. For a man who usually whispered, it was like thunder. I laid the documents on the table. This board doesn't legally exist. Every action you've taken is void, and we're calling for an immediate recall. Marlene scoffed. This isn't a democracy. I leaned in. It is now. Then I dropped an open letter signed by 22 residents demanding a new committee. Even Greg, the maintenance guy whose son she held hostage with threats, refused to defend her. The next morning, the clubhouse was packed wall to wall, more people than I'd ever seen at a meeting. The county liaison read the findings aloud. The HOA was dissolved, all actions null, and a resident-led committee would take over within 14 days. Murmurs turned into sharp, steady voices. People pointed, testified, demanded answers. Marlene sat, rigid eyes darting like a cornered animal, but it was over. She'd lost the room, the board, the illusion of control. That was the end. No applause, no victory parade. Just the collapse of a petty tyrant in a blouse and clipboard. Weeks later, her name wasn't even on the ballot. She disappeared without a word, and the signs of her reign, those red tag violation slips and smug bulletins, vanished from the corkboards. The last image I'll leave you with is this. My daughter standing in the hallway after a shower door open, humming a tune without fear. That was the moment I knew we'd won, not because of bylaws or elections, but because she finally felt safe again. And here's the truth I learned: silence only feeds control. The moment you speak up, you take the keys back.